Everyone, it's Marco Brown. I'm an attorney here in Salt Lake City. I run Brown Family Law. I'm a divorce attorney, and I'm coming here today to talk to you about how to increase your law firm revenue by 28% without adding another client, spending an additional dollar, or raising your price. Okay, so those are the parameters, and I promise you, this is not magic. This actually works. I've done this before. I'm going to take you through the process. Now, there is going to be some math in this and so on, but it's an example, and it's really going to lay out exactly how you do this, what you have to do. These are very normal numbers. So I promise you we'll get through this, and hopefully you get some real value in it, and hopefully you incorporate these things into your law firm because they are absolute game changers. Okay, so we've laid out what we're going to do. Increase 28%, not add an additional client, no spending an additional dollar, and not raising your prices. Okay, so how do you do that? And the way you do that, let me increase the size on this just a little bit here. Okay, so how do you do that? Collections. Okay, I preach this gospel as much as humanly possible because attorneys are so very bad at it. And I know attorneys are bad at it because I was incredibly bad at it. And I'll talk about my story just a little bit more as we go on. But let me give you some preliminary data. So Clio did anonymize some data. They do this every year. They've done it every year since 2015. So every year I go into the Clio Trends report and I look at the billing data, collections data, so on and so forth, and income data, that type of thing. And, it's pretty stable stuff. So what I'm going to represent to you is from the 2020 Clio Trends report, but this is pretty normal, okay, since I've looked at it since 2015. So what Clio finds, and this is anonymized behavioral data. This isn't survey data where you can say, how often do you work out? And you say 7 days a week, and you actually take a walk once on a Monday, right? So this is behavioral data. It says that the average attorney works 8 hours a day. The average attorney bills 2.5 hours a day out of those 8 hours. The average attorney invoices 2.1 hours per day. And the average attorney collects 1.8 hours per day. Okay, so out of 8 hours working per day, the average attorney will collect 1.8 hours or 22.5% on that time. Okay, now you may say that's crazy. There's no way that's possible. I guarantee you it's possible. I talk to attorneys, especially solo attorneys, which account for 56% of American attorneys. And this is very possible, and this is very normal stuff. So I know it seems crazy, but this is the reality of lawyering in America. Okay, so out of an 8-hour workday, you're collecting 1.8 hours a day on average. Okay, so the answer that we're going to go through here is all about collections. Like how do you increase the collections? What does that look like, and so forth. So that's what we're doing today. Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience and why I talk about this so much with attorneys. So I opened my law firm in 2010. I was an insurance defense attorney in New Mexico before I came to Salt Lake to open a law firm. Worst job I ever had in my entire life. I hated every second of it. It's just the most boring thing ever. I think I got to court like once every 6 months or something. And I only made it 18 months. So I think I literally only got to court 3 times. It was just a horrible job. So I decided to leave. And my wife wanted to come back to Utah to get a doctorate. And we had gone to college here. So I said, great, let's do that. We came back. It's 2010, not a good year for attorneys. Everybody's shutting down. It's right after the Great Recession, kind of in the throes of this. Not a good time. So I, being the kind of idiot I am, decide that this is a great time to open a law firm, which is what I did. And just had to make it work. So by the hand of Providence and through a lot of hard work, it stayed open, right? And I was able to help a lot of people. I did that for about 5 years. And just to let you know, I have no business experience whatsoever. I've never started a business. I haven't started a law firm. I've never done anything. My parents were government workers in Alaska. We grew up in a I grew up in a little village called Cold Bay, 85 people. My dad ran a salmon hatchery of all things, and my mom was an air traffic controller. So no business acumen, no business experience whatsoever, and just had to kind of make this work. So I made all these horrible mistakes. And one of the very biggest mistakes I made was I didn't know how to collect anything, and I was like super scared of it. Okay. So I spent probably, 2010 to 2015 just walking through the woods aimlessly, not knowing how to collect on cases, not really doing anything. I mean, it got a little bit better, but I didn't really figure the stuff out very well. So come 2015, I'm in a crossroads. I'm doing really, really poorly. I'm doing great professionally. I won Divorce Attorney of the Year here in Utah, as voted on by my peers in the bar, which was fantastic. But in all other aspects, I was doing pretty poorly. Like I let myself get fat, and I was obese as a child. I didn't want that, but I let myself get pretty corpulent again. My spiritual life wasn't doing so hot. My family life wasn't doing so hot. My emotions were really kind of down to the dumps. I just wasn't doing well. So I had to decide what I was going to do with my life, and I decided that I didn't want to die when I was like 60 or 65 of a heart attack. So I had to change things, and I sat down and I thought, what can I change that will allow me to change a whole bunch of other things? What's that like apex habit or apex thing I can change that will have these downstream effects and allow me to change everything else in my law firm? And I figured, oh, why don't I just collect on the money on my billables, because I've already done the work. So why don't I just go collect 100% of it? Because I think at this point, it was probably collecting like 50 to 70 cents on the dollar, right? And they thought, oh, okay, well, let's do that. So went and started doing that, figuring out a system to make that work and so forth. And I can tell you, it changed everything. And this is why I preach this. And this is why I talk to attorneys all the time about collections and about how an amazing a difference it can make in their law firm. So that's my 2015 experience, and that's why we're here talking today. Okay. So let's go through this just from the ground and go up here. So how do you determine your collection rate? The easiest version of the collection rate is the amount billed, the amount you bill, and the amount you collect divided by the amount you collect. Okay. So the amount you bill from invoices and then the amount you actually collect. Okay. So let me give you kind of an example here. So the first thing you want to do is to figure out your collection rate, because if you don't know your collection rate, you literally don't know your law firm at all. You have no idea how much money you're actually making, how much time you're actually spending, or how efficient you are, or effective you are as an attorney. And you can't make more money if you don't know these numbers. So step one is to calculate your collection rate. And the way you do that is you calculate first your amount billed. Okay. And the amount billed, or your hours billed, just do this on a yearly basis. That's the way I do this. So the hours billed times your hourly rate. Okay, that equals the amount billed. So step two is to calculate the amount collected. The amount collected is the money that you collect during the year from your law firm minus your hard case costs. Okay, so hard case costs for us, because I'm a divorce attorney here in Salt Lake, really not too many. We'll have pleadings. We have to pay for the complaint or the petition to modify or whatever. So there's some of those hard case costs, but they're pretty minimal. Other people like PI attorneys and whatnot, they'll have a lot of hard case costs. So you have to figure out what your hard case costs are and decrease that from the amount of money that you actually collect. Once you do that, that is the amount collected on your hours billed. Okay. So here's an example of this. So say, and I'm just using random numbers here, okay? Just to make this easy. So there's an attorney who bills 1,000 hours a year at a billing rate of $200 per hour. So step one, what's the amount billed? It's 1,000 hours times $200 an hour. It's easy, $200,000, okay? What's the amount collected? Just make it up a number. It's $150,000. Okay, so to figure out the collection rate, you divide $150,000 by $200,000, right? The amount collected divided by the amount billed, 75%. Okay, it's super easy to do this. You just have to get into your numbers and figure out what's going on. And that's not going to be the easy part for a lot of you, because if you're like me in the beginning, I did not know these numbers at all. I think if I paid honestly, in 2010 to 15, if I paid my rent or mortgage and I had money left over to like buy food for my family and put gas in the car, like I didn't give a crap what my actual amount billed was or what my amount collected was. But you got to become more sophisticated at some point if you want to make more money. So that's why, or to have any sort of life, right? If you want to take vacations or get ahead and invest money, you have to figure out these numbers. So that's what we're doing here. All right. So the collection rate on this, 75%. That's how you figure it out. So step one of the process is to figure out your collection rate. Okay. Step two is to compare your collection rate with where your collection rate should be. So what your actual collection rate is compared to what it should be. And I'm going to give you what it should be. Okay. 100% is your ultimate goal. And 100% is your ultimate goal because you're already doing this work. It shouldn't be 98%, it shouldn't be 95%, it shouldn't be 80%, it shouldn't be any of these things. You do work and you do exceptional work for your clients, which means that you should get paid 100% for the work you do. Okay. That is it. That is your goal. That's what you want to do. Okay. So maybe you don't hit 100%. Maybe you hit 98%. That is fantastic. 98% is great. That's actually kind of where we are as a law firm, is about 98%. I want to get it to 100 and I'm always working on that, but we've been at 98% for a little while now. 95% is good. It's okay. You're doing okay. Well, you're doing good. 90% is okay. Anything less than 90% is a total fail. And you need to start thinking like this. Lots and lots of law firms think if I get 50 cents on the dollar, I'm okay. There's actually a law firm down the street here, and that's what they said. The owner told me that once. If I get 50 cents on the dollar, I will take that. And he's not talking like overdue bills. He's talking like invoices that he sends out. I think that's just crazy talk. So you have to change this mindset. Anything below a 90% is a total fail when it comes to collections. Think about this. If your revenues are $1 million a year, 90%, you're leaving $100,000 on the table. That's $100,000 to you, your family, your team. You could hire another team member for that sort of thing. Probably two or three team members, actually, if they're lower level employees, make your life easier. Or you can just take the $100,000 and invest it, do anything with it. That's real money, man. If it's $500,000, it's $50,000. And that's still, like, I don't know where you are, but $50,000 to me is still real money. So, we're talking about serious amounts of cash, and that's just 10%. Like most law firms, if they get to 90%, they think they're doing really good, which means that they're leaving tons of money on the table. Okay. But you gotta change this thinking. 90% is a total fail. You want to get this thing up to 100. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to compare where you are actually your collection rate with this, okay, with what your ultimate goal, and just be honest with yourself about it. And then think, okay, this is where I am. We're going to get better at it. That's what we're going to do. Okay, now we've kind of laid the groundwork. What we're going to do is go through the 28% increase in income example that I was saying at the beginning. And to do this, we're going to introduce a character, and this character's name is Average Attorney. Okay, AA, whatever you want to call him. It's a him, her. I don't really care. But this is Average Attorney. Okay, so the average attorney is a solo attorney. Doesn't have to be, but the average attorney is actually a solo attorney in the United States. 56% of attorneys here are solos. And, let's say the average attorney bills 200 an hour. Okay, so what I'm doing, I'm actually going to go back a few slides here. So what I'm doing is actually using this data from the 2020 Clio Trends report as the basis for our average attorney example. Okay, so just to let you know kind of where that's coming from. All right, let's get back to average attorney. Okay, so average attorney bills $200 an hour. Just using a round number here. Works 8 hours a day, bills 2.5 hours a day, invoices 2.1 hours a day, and collects 1.8 hours a day. Now, you are asking yourself, how is it possible that you work 8 hours a day? You probably still have this persistent question. How is it possible that you work 8 hours a day, and you only bill 2.5 hours a day. Well, think about it. So you sit around, you come in at 9, and then you leave at 5. You probably eat some lunch. You pick up the phone a whole bunch. You answer emails, and 26% of people's time is spent going back and forth between tasks, and usually we don't capture that time. Maybe you meet with a potential new client, and you're not charging that potential new client a consultation fee. You you talk with your paralegal about stuff, and then they'll bill it. There are thousands of things that happen in any given day in a law firm that keep you from billing. Okay, so when you're a solo attorney, or you just have 2 or 3 people in your law firm, you're doing all of these things, and you're just losing tremendous amounts of time. So that's how you go from 8 hours worked in a day to billing 2.5 hours a day. So 2.5 invoice, 2.1, and collects 1.8. Okay, average attorney continued. Let's assume that you work 5 days a week, every week of the year. Okay, you don't do this because you take time off, or average attorney doesn't do this because average attorney probably takes time off. But we're going to assume that average attorney actually works 20 hours or 20 days a month. Okay, 240 working days in a year. Bills 2.1 hours per day. Those 240 days, it's 504 hours. Okay, collects of those 500 on those 504, or bills on those 504 hours, multiplied by $200, it's $100,000 essentially. It's $100,800. Okay. Then the hours collected is 1.8 hours per day. Okay. Not the hours billed, but the hours collected is 1.8 hours a day, or 432 hours per year. Okay. So this is the math part. I hope you're following along here. I'm trying to make this as easy as possible. So the amount collected, so we did the amount billed per year. And then the amount collected for average attorney is 432 hours times $200, or $86,400. Okay, so the amount billed is 100,800. The amount collected is 86,400. Okay, and this is again like amounts billed, amounts collected on an 8-hour workday, right? These are not great numbers. So average attorney continued here. Average attorney makes $86,400 in a year, which is really the same as the amount collected. Might be slightly more complicated than this, but like we're just using some numbers here to illustrate the point. And then I put in here, I just worked this up this morning. The effective hourly rate for this for an 8-hour workday is $45 an hour. Okay, so bills out $200 an hour, but the effective actual like income rate on those 8 hours is like $45 an hour. So this is average attorney, right, which represents essentially average attorney in America, is extraordinarily inefficient. So, when people talk about attorneys making so much money and so forth, and my goodness, how can they bill $300 an hour? You got to realize that, and we have to realize as attorneys that we bill these really high rates, but our effective rate is really low. It's really low because we're so inefficient. Okay. So what happens when average attorney collects 100% of the hours billed? So these projections are the 1.8, right? So bills or invoices 2.1. Sorry, these are hours invoiced. My bad. Invoices 2.1, collects 1.8. Okay. So what happens if the average attorney collects 100% of the hours billed? Okay. So the invoice is the 2.1. Okay, that's number 8. But the hours billed on average is 2.5. So what happens if you collect 100% on the 2.5 that's billed instead of the 1.8 that's actually collected? Okay. So from 432 hours collected per year, it would go up to 600 hours per year. Okay. Sounds pretty modest, to be honest with you, and it is pretty modest, which means that this example is not just me making up crazy example just to get you to watch the video. It's like, this is really modest stuff, man. So you go from 432 hours collected to 600 hours collected in a year, okay, which is $120,000. Okay, but the average attorney makes $86,400 a year. If you made $120,000 a year by collecting 100%, that's an additional $33,600. Okay, which is a 28% difference, and that's the 28%. That's the increase in the revenues here. The amount that actually goes to the attorney is a 28% difference. Again, notice we're going to recap this. Without one additional client, without an additional dollar spent, and without raising prices, billable price at all, the average attorney can increase income by 28%, simply by doing one thing. And that one thing is collecting on all of the billed hours in a year. That's it. That's all. Okay. So a couple takeaways here. I'm going to get to some tips for increasing the collections. But one thing I want to talk about before that is this idea of, the billed hours and then the invoiced hours, right? 2.5, the average attorney bills 2.5 hours per day and then invoices 2.1 hours per day. Do not, for the love of heaven, do not write off anything on your invoices. I don't know why people do this stuff. It's absolutely insane to me. So if you've done the work, do not write it off. If you make a mistake, right, then you should write it off because you made a mistake. But don't just write off billed hours because you feel some sort of, I don't know, fidelity to your client. I have no idea why people do this stuff, honestly, but just don't do it. Just make a rule in your head that says, unless I made a mistake, I will not decrease the hours that I billed. Okay. Because when I look at this and it's 2.5 to 2.1, people are just doing this at random for some reason. They're doing it a ton. And I guarantee you, I know tons and tons of attorneys, thousands at this point. The vast majority of them are good people and good attorneys and are not overbilling their clients. As you can see, if they were trying to overbill their clients, the average attorney would be billing a lot more than 2.5 hours per day, right? We are not trying to screw our clients, but that we're just writing these hours off. Do not do that anymore. Just say absolutely not. Unless you make a mistake, do not write off any time from your bills. Okay, there you go. And here's the dirty little secret. I used to do this a lot because I was scared of my clients. I was scared that they wouldn't pay me. I was scared that they get upset or whatever. I stopped writing things off the bill, and no one cared. There's never, no one said anything about it. There was absolutely no difference whatsoever. So just stop writing the stuff off. Okay. So now I'm going to give you three tips for increasing your collections. Okay. So the first one is you got to change your mind about money. And this is the point where if AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or Bernie Sanders is your spirit animal, like, get over yourself, okay? Like, you just have to get out of that mindset and realize that money is necessary. Money is good, right? Money allows you freedom. It allows your family freedom. It allows your law firm freedom. If you don't have profits and you don't have healthy profits, you're not going to expand, which means that you're not going to help more people, right? You're not going to live a life in which you can spend money to solve your problems, or to take the vacations you want, or to buy the homes you want, or to send your kids to college like you want, or to send them on, if you're me, send them on religious missions. Whatever it is, money buys those things, okay? So you need to change your mind about money. And the unfortunate thing about being an attorney is the first two groups of people that really taught us about money as attorneys were our law professors and then the Bar Association. And those two groups are groups of bureaucrats, okay? Law professors, the vast majority of law professors couldn't hack it as attorneys or didn't want to hack it as attorneys. They kind of saw that as beneath them. So they became law professors and then just started professing things. Okay, they don't know what they're talking about. When it comes to money, they have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. Of course, they don't have any idea what they're talking about when it comes to actually running a case either. So, I don't really trust what law professors say in general, but certainly not when it comes to money. And then we become attorneys and bar associations take over. And bar associations are like the worst guilt trippers on the earth. All they do all day long is to tell you to give away your stuff for free, right? Just do pro bono hours. You owe it to people. You do this, you do that. Like, it's all like give away your stuff for free. It's it's just like that one note every day. I hate it. I hate it. And it's every bar I've ever come across, or every attorney in the United States I've ever talked to. So again, they're groups of bureaucrats. They make money, like their salaries are paid off your back, okay, or off state funds or something like that. So they have no idea what it's like to have to make money in order to, go out and find something and kill it and then take it back to the cave and actually feed their family. They have no idea. They're bureaucrats. So don't listen to either of those groups when it comes to money. You got to change, and you have to change that mindset. Like we were inculcated with this mindset from your law professors and from the bar, and you got to change that. Okay. Money is good. Money buys freedom. That's it. Buys freedom for you and your family and your law firm and your team. Okay. Okay, tip number 2, hire somebody to run your collection system. I just had a very good conversation with an attorney friend of mine, and I told him, he's a true solo, and I told him the first thing you should do is to hire somebody to run your collection system. And don't make this too complicated, right? Because sometimes we have this need as attorneys to kind of try to plan everything out. Like, I want to plan the system before I spend any money. Yeah, that's great. Just don't do that. Okay. Hire somebody, pay them what they're worth, what the going rate is, and tell them your number one job is to collect on my cases. I don't care how you do that, as long as you don't break the law. Just do it. Okay. Do that. That's going to increase your collections like a bunch. And then you can figure out a really exceedingly good system to get you to 100%. But if you're like 75, 80% less, like I was, 50, 75%, then just doing this thing and telling them to go to it and collect money, that's going to be an incredibly high ROI. And then you can refine it over time. So don't worry about it too much. Just hire the person, and you got to make that their number one job. So if this person comes in and does this and paralegal work or answers phones, whatever, cool. But their number one job is to collect for you. That is it. That you tell them that, and then you just let them go, and you expect that from them. Okay. And then tip number 3, got to stop work when clients don't pay you. This is really hard for attorneys because we're good people and we don't want to materially disadvantage our clients and prejudice them. But look, if they're not paying you, get out. Just stop work. They're going to pay you. Okay. Most of the time we do this every month. We run credit cards and to get the retainer back up to a certain amount. And when that doesn't happen, then we stop work automatically. Okay. And magically our clients pay. They say, oh, I can't find the money. And then magically they find the money. This is just the way human beings are. They tell you that they can't, and then they go do it. Okay. So stop work. Get paid like a casino boss. Casino bosses will do anything for you. If you have money, they will get you anything you want in the world. The moment that money runs out, though, you can't even get back in your room. They will lock you out of your room. They will lock you out of your stuff, so you can't even get your credit card to pay them, okay? That's how a casino boss gets paid. You got to be a casino boss, right? Like, if they're not paying you, stop work. Okay. Now, there are other steps to this, and I kind of go through these in other trainings that I give to attorneys, but these are probably my top 3 tips for people on how to get paid. If you implement just these 3, I guarantee that your collections will skyrocket. Okay. And make this commitment to yourself today that you are going to get to 100% in collections, that you are worth it to actually get paid for all of the work you do. And I guarantee you are. Okay. You've gone through law school. You paid an inordinately huge amount of money for it. I paid, I think, $160,000. I had $160,000 in law school debt. It's just a tremendous amount of money. You put in the work. You do great work for your clients. You care about them. You do all of these things. You take time away from your family. You are worthy to get paid 100% for the work you do. So go do it. All right. You want to increase your law firm revenues by a bunch without spending any additional money, without a single additional client, without hiring anybody else. Do this one thing, collect it 100%. Okay. I appreciate you being here. I do this. I talk about this because I want my colleagues to succeed. I love my colleagues as attorneys. I love being an attorney, and I always have. God made me to be an attorney, and I want to see. I want to succeed, and I want to see my friends and my colleagues succeed. If you need anything, you're interested in how to do this, you need some help with your law firm. I'm not selling anything. I don't do pro bono work. You know, I don't take divorce cases as pro bono cases. I've helped like 4,000 people through the divorce process here in Utah. Like, why would I want another divorce? This is what I do for pro bono work. I try to help my fellow attorneys to succeed in their law firm. So if you need anything, feel free to email me. Feel free to give me a call. I will try to help you absolutely however I can. And I really appreciate you being here. And until next time, we'll see ya.